All right, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to a special Saturday morning edition of the Opinion City Podcast, a
That's
professional
right.
wrestling podcast where we debate the hottest topics of the past, present, future, and beyond. We are your hosts. My name is Ralph Feinmarch,
And I am Parmesan Russell.
and we are here live on a Saturday morning.
Mhm.
As you mentioned earlier this week, to me, Saturday night is all right for fighting, but Saturday
Or just
morning
talking.
is all right for talking. This podcast is for you, the listeners, and we love hearing your opinion. So please reach out to us via email at opinioncitypod@gmail.com.
And before we go any further, if you want to support our show, you can follow us at Opinions Pity Pod on all the socials. You can find everything that we do over there. You can follow myself on all the socials at Parmesan. You can follow this guy right here, Ralph, at Real Ralph 316. If you like what you hear, don't be a stranger. Like, rate, review, share, all those fun things. Let us know what you think because we love to hear from you. Without further ado, let's get into this week's episode.
All right, man. We got a big episode this week. We got
Mhm.
a few important things to talk about. So, Sean, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know what we've got on tap for this episode of Opinion City?
This week, we are going to cover briefly the card for tomorrow night, AEW Wrestle Dream in Seattle.
Yeah.
The
Very
big
cool.
show coming up, a lot of matches. It's going to be a long show. So strap in.
Yeah.
And I figured because, last week we talked about the releases.
Mhm.
This week I wanted to sort of continue that conversation, but instead of the releases, we're going to go into our top 5 wrestlers who have succeeded after leaving WWE.
I like it. Very
So,
cool. So before we get to the Wrestle Dream card, I have an opinion that I'd like to throw out there.
Okay.
And
this is Opinion City.
yeah, it's gonna be a little controversial, but I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So Wrestle Dream is a very specific concept.
Yes.
Tony Khan has promised an amazing show. He's like, if you're going to be in Seattle, it's going to be a great show.
Yep.
Which I agree. The card on paper looks great. And the build up has been interesting. This week's Dynamite, for example, only had 4 matches. Everything else was all promos or contract signings or like the build up to the pay-per-view.
Yep.
And that's cool. But with the exception of Wrestle Dream, I gotta say, there's a lot of talk going on about how wrestling is in this resurgence right now, and how wrestling is really hitting its stride, and it's hot, and it's making money, and there's big crowds, and people are watching TV. Wrestling is just not the current product is not holding my interest like it should be overall. And I'm not just talking about like Raw, SmackDown, and I'm talking like what we have every week on a weekly basis on TV is just not holding my attention. And I'm not really into the product at the moment as much as I probably should be. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, I think, is what I feel is like the collapse of the Bloodline storyline, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
Because the Bloodline storyline has been so...
It was like the glue that kind of kept everything kind of together.
Yeah, and I don't feel like... I feel like main event Jey Uso is kind of becoming like, how do I put this? Over budget Jey Uso, like where they put everybody in the like over budget battle royal.
Yeah.
Like Jey Uso is just being added to things now because we're over budget and we don't know what to do. We've got this guy. We've got to do something with him. I get all of that. Like, I don't think the Jey Uso thing has been working out as well as they had hoped. So I'm a little concerned about that. But like wrestling in general is just not holding my attention. Like, there's very few things. I mean, it's not like the wrestling is bad, and I'm not saying that any of the wrestlers are doing a bad job. It's just creatively, for me, I just think like a lot of things aren't clicking right now.
Right.
I will say I am excited because Monday night we saw Tegan Nox defeat Natalya. It looks like Tegan Nox is going to get her shot at Becky Lynch.
Push, thank God.
Yeah. So I mean, like, there's little spots here and there that are exciting for me, but like creatively, like the matches that they're doing in WWE, it's not clicking for me.
Yeah.
So I'm having a hard time with that. I will say that like indie wrestling has been hitting on all cylinders.
Crazy.
We were at the LVAC's show last night,
Unbound.
Yeah, and it was a really cool show. And the thing about it was a really fun show too. Like
And it was
that's
only 4 matches. It was a short show, which was even cooler. And because the venue was kind of small,
yeah.
it was very, very, very intimate. Like we were really there was no barricade. We were like right on the ring. Like there was no blocking, there was no
So
spacing. It was just hey, ring
yeah.
fans.
To give some of you out there some context on this, if you haven't seen like any of the LVAC shows in person, or you haven't seen them on streaming from National Sokol in Bethlehem, it is very much akin to where Beyond Wrestling runs their shows, because it is standing room only. You're right there, you're on top of the action. It's intimate was the perfect word for it, because that's really what it is. So but their shows are just fun. And you look at like last night, we had 2 singles matches, we had a tag match, and then we had a trios match.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like and my wife, who went with us last night, who sparingly attends shows with me, she had mentioned that, like, she was hoping that the main event would have been a singles match, because she's not a huge fan of like trios matches. But I have to say, I think the trios match last night changed her mind, because the thing about it was just fun from beginning to end.
Fun. It was so much fun to the point where so the trios match was Big Dan Champion, Puff, and Jeff Cannonball, Club Soda, versus Brandon Kirk, Lucky 13, and who was the third man?
Chris Worthless.
And Jeff Cannonball had Brandon Kirk breaking very early on, to where Brandon couldn't stop laughing the entire match.
It was so much fun from beginning to end. Just watching the interaction with Puff and Jeff Cannonball interacting with Dan Champion, like doing the Dan Champion stuff.
So
but like that's what wrestling is supposed to be. Wrestling is supposed to be fun. They go out of their way to make sure that wrestling is fun at the LVAC,
which is crazy, because Jeff Cannonball again and Kirk and all these wrestlers are also deathmatch wrestlers. So to see them go like the opposite way and just have fun with it, and no violence, is like a crazy like 180.
It's so different, but it's really great to see, and that's the kind of stuff that's holding my attention. So, we got to see a match last night between the rabid honey badger Ryan Mooney and King Crab. And let me tell you, if you have never seen a hermit crab match, or you have never seen the new incarnation of the King Crab,
the king,
all hail King Crab, you need to check that out. You need to find him on YouTube. You need to watch him, because
look it up.
He is a riot. Like he is just,
dude, he was
so much fun.
He also was one that talks in the third person, so that made it even funnier that he was like, ow, King Crab is hurt.
And the ref, the ref kept asking, if he wanted to tap, and he kept saying, what do you say? And Crab's like, why it hurts so much? Like it's just brilliant. So it's just brilliant.
LVAC, this is my second LVAC show in like a week, and they just, again, as we've kind of beat it to a dead horse at this point, like Chikara, it's just a vibe, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's just a total
It is.
vibe.
You are a part of something. You are a part of a family. We have, and this is something that I've noticed over time, but like we have been seeing the same fans at different shows. Like we're starting to get to know more fans. It's great, because a lot of the Chikara like base is now in the LVAC. So like I know a bunch of those guys. So that's really cool. And that kind of stuff is what's really holding my attention right now. Although I will say, again, the idea of Wrestle Dream is very much kind of like the idea of Forbidden Door, but a little different. Like Tony Khan mentioned last year when he heard about Antonio Inoki passing, and he wanted to do something, on the anniversary of that to honor him, and I think that's great.
Like it's basically a show in memoriam to Antonio Inoki, but also celebrating just wrestling in general.
Yeah, so I think it's a great concept. I think it's a great thing to add another show to the AEW landscape. I feel like when AEW has a themed show instead of maybe just a pay-per-view, things tend to work out much better on paper. They look much more amazing, I think, and I think the shows come out better for that reason.
Well, because there's a whole theme surrounding it. Like, this is a wrestling pay-per-view, but it's also like, again, in honor of someone who is legend isn't even the word for what Antonio Inoki has done for the wrestling
Oh,
business.
certainly.
Like
Certainly.
he's beyond the echelon of legend. He's like
Yeah.
like mythical almost. Like
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
like just up here.
Well, and it's, I mean, it's, in the US for us, when we think about like mythical figures, we'll be talking about Vince McMahon like that someday when
Oh
he's
yeah.
gone, because,
Mhm.
he's like the be all end all of what really made, wrestling in the United States
Yeah.
into what it is
He
now.
brought that to one whole territory.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of how Antonio Inoki is
Was
viewed
in Japan.
in Japan. So yeah, so I think it's a great idea. I'm very excited for the card.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a great show.
Mhm.
So why
Why
don't
don't we?
we?
Yeah. Why
Yeah,
don't we scroll down the card and
let's start
just
running
go
it
over
down.
them? Yeah.
All right. So we have an AEW World Trios Championship match.
Mhm.
The Acclaimed of Anthony Bones and Max Caster
Love them.
and Daddy Ass Billy Gunn
Yeah.
will be defending their World Trios Championship against the team of TMDK, Shane Haste, Mikey Nichols, and Bad Dude Tito. Now,
Bad Dude Tito.
let me ask you. Let's just put it right out there.
Do it.
Is there any way the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn lose? Is
Not
there
at all.
in any way that
And I
they
just
drop
want
the
to know,
titles?
because we've already did the episode on titles, but I have to
Yeah.
say, I know you're not a fan of like custom titles, but I love what they're doing with the AEW Trio Championships, because it's not a total custom title. It's
Mhm.
just the strap changes or the
Well-
color changes, and I love that the Acclaim's belts have the scissor as the
Mhm.
strap.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
To me, I don't mind this one as much, because to me it's not so much. See, the thing is, a lot of custom championships don't mean anything.
No.
Like they're just custom championships for the purpose of custom championships. You
Yeah.
have very few that mean anything. The Smoking Skull belt
Yeah.
meant something. I feel like when Edge did the rated R
version,
spinner belt,
yeah.
like I think that meant something, because he was like very much against the establishment and against the idea of
course.
John Cena and the spinner title.
Yeah.
So I think that made sense. And I think, to me, this makes sense, because to me this is nothing different than like when they changed the color of the IC strap back in the day.
It's basically
like,
what they're doing. Yeah, like when originally it was gold with the black strap, and then when House of Black won it, it was just all silver and black.
Yeah.
Now it's the Acclaim, so it's pink with the scissors at the end. I love that. It's
I
just
think that's really cool.
nuanced changes. It's not a total change. It's the same
Right.
belt, just nuanced changes for whoever group wins it, and I love that about
Agreed.
the belts. But no,
Yeah.
I do not see them losing at all. I feel
No.
like they just won it. There's no way they're going to lose it. And to be honest, I've been kind of behind on my shows. I have no idea who any of the people on the other team is.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, again, this is some, I think this is some of the problem with AEW, and we kind of got into this in another show, but we really didn't talk about it a whole lot. But you have AEW, you have Ring of Honor, you've got this huge roster of people.
Yeah.
And some people, even people that are, getting matches on pay-per-views like WrestleDream, maybe some people that not everybody are 100% super familiar with.
Yeah.
If you're not following everything all the time.
Mhm.
I feel like this is where sometimes shows like Rampage fall to the wayside or fail a little bit, because you have all these guys on these cards that we could really be featuring on a show like Rampage. But I feel like AEW has kind of forgotten about Rampage.
I don't think it's that. I just think the problem is that they have such a rough time slot on Friday night. It's at 10 o'clock when either people are probably going to bed or not, or going out. They're not staying in to watch a wrestling show. Like, they'll watch SmackDown because it ends at 10, but then at 10 o'clock, what are you going to do? Go to sleep, go out, maybe go to a bar, hang out with your friends.
Sure.
So it's a rough time. I mean, they have been changing the times because sports, so they do sometimes have it at 5 or 7 or at good times. But that 10 o'clock the slot is just rough.
And that's one aspect of it. I think the other part of it is that I think they're falling into like the Sunday Night Heat trap, where you have Raw, you have SmackDown, you have Sunday Night Heat. One of them's like, now that Collision is such a new show and they're really pushing Collision, it seems like Rampage is becoming the Sunday Night Heat of things. And the thing is, like, Sunday Night Heat had some really important stuff.
A lot of it,
and a lot of the stuff they did was stuff that was going to then lead into a WWE pay-per-view.
Yeah.
However, within the first 20-30 minutes of the WWE pay-per-view, they basically recapped everything that happened on Sunday Night Heat. So you almost didn't need to see it. So I feel like Rampage is getting to that point. But regardless.
Yeah.
There's no way that the titles are changing. hands
No,
here. We
it's
got
not.
that.
No, the Acclaim are going to win hands down. Sister parties all around, and
Yes.
then we move on.
All right. So moving on, we have Luchasaurus versus Nick Wayne, which again, this is all stemming from the TNT Championship and the Christian Cage situation, which we'll get to. But
just want to say, as much as I love Christian Cage and that whole around with him thinking he was champion, even though it was Luchasaurus, I wanted to see Luchasaurus hold the title and actually be the champion. I was a little bit upset that Christian hogged all that spotlight from Luchasaurus, and Luchasaurus didn't do anything about it. They did tease it on one of the shows that Luchasaurus might have finally came to his senses, but no. I think that's a slow build. I think they're going to slowly build Luchasaurus's turn on Christian Cage.
I think
and really do a slow build to where that crescendo finally builds to like, all right, it's over.
Yeah, and I think if we do that, I think you continue to build this up. And I think that, you get to a point where like the fans are going to be so hot for it that when Luchasaurus finally does defeat Christian Cage for the title, it's going to be huge. Yeah.
Do you think there's any chance that Nick Wayne beats Luchasaurus?
No. I don't know. See, I don't know where they're going to go with this, because I really think like in listening to and just reading some of the comments that a lot of the online journalists have, and I kind of agree with this. I think that Nick Wayne is somehow going to get involved in the match with Christian Cage. So I don't know what the plan is for that. So it's hard for me to really pick this match, because it could go either way.
No, I mean it could. It's just I feel like I don't know if they're doing this just to build up Nick Wayne's stock, but I don't think Nick Wayne's won a match since he debuted on AEW. I think he's doing the opposite build where you have him lose so many matches to where when he finally gets the win, that's the big deal.
Yeah,
when he does win the match,
it could be. So
who knows?
Yeah, it depends what plans are for the rest of the show, I think.
Of course,
but I think this one could go either way, and I don't think it really matters either way.
No, I think
nobody takes a loss here and it hurts them.
No, so I think this match is really, like you said, it's just for the build up to Christian Cage versus Darby. Like whatever happens in the match will carry on to Christian and Darby.
Yeah. All right. So now we have the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers versus the Guns versus Orange Cassidy and Hook, which again is a bit of a strange pairing.
Seems kind of random, but again, I've been, there's just so much wrestling to watch now that it's hard to keep up with all the wrestling. Yeah, I love it, but there's just so much wrestling to watch now. So I don't know how that came about. Maybe you do. I don't know. But this match is probably going to be one of the crazy matches, spot fest awesomeness that we come to know from AEW.
I think so. And I think that, this will be a fun match all around. I think everybody will get their stuff in, but I think the Bucks go over here.
You think so?
I do, because I really, I think they're building towards, I think we're building towards the Bucks and FTR at some point again.
I mean, I hope so. I feel like they need to run that back one more time.
Well, there's, the fact that FTR beat them was not the finality that we were looking for. It's not the final note. It did shine that light on FTR, but there was just that hinge of like, okay, you got us, and that may mean you got us tonight, but that doesn't mean that you've got us as the greatest tag team of all time.
Won the war. You might have won the night, but you didn't win the war. I don't know, I just feel like they already have the ROH trios titles with Hangman. Why do you need to go after another tag team belt? You know what I'm saying? Like they already are champions. Like I don't see a reason why they need to be double tag team champions. I mean, has that even been?
Well, because I don't think here's
first of all, just before I forget, has that ever been done before? Where there's been double tag team champions?
I don't think so.
The only thing I can recall is when The Undertaker and Kane won the WCW.
Well, that was,
and they were double champions, but it was a unified title.
Well, and I think sometimes you had guys that were like, tag champs for a promotion in Japan, and tag champs here too.
Yeah, okay.
But here's my thing. So I don't feel like in the world of AEW, I don't feel like the Ring of Honor titles mean anything to anybody. And here's why I say that. Because we've talked before about how Samoa Joe is having all these matches on AEW television, and then like the Ring of Honor, the Ring of Honor television title might as well be like to hold his pants up, because it means nothing every time he's on AEW television. It's just something for them to announce and something for him to carry.
Right.
And I feel like that's the thing here, because I don't think there's enough eyes on Ring of Honor. I don't think there's enough eyes on the weekly product. I don't
Yeah.
think there's enough eyes on their pay-per-views.
Yeah, I think that's what the goal is for them doing here. Is I think that the goal is that to have some of these ROH belts on national TV that gives sort of ROH eyes.
But it's not working, because it's not doing anything for the titles. It's
Mm.
just making them, like a piece of your entrance gear. Because you have, like you said, they have the trios titles with Hangman,
Yeah,
and they're in a tag match and Hangman's in a singles match.
yeah.
Like it just, you know what I mean? If you're gonna do, I don't know. There's no easy solution to it.
No.
I think that Ring of Honor needs an actual weekly television show that people don't have to pay to watch.
Well, they've been mentioning, and I think Andrew Zarian said it on his podcast, that he is almost for sure positive that next year they will be on Max and they will be joining the service, because HBO Max is adding a sports section to their services.
Well, and that makes sense.
And I think, like with Peacock or the network, what you can do is have ROH be like the NXT, have that be exclusively on the network, and then you have Dynamite and Collision on TV.
But here's my thing though. If we're gonna do that, and that's fine, you have to have the Ring of Honor titles not only mean something, but you have to have the Ring of Honor titles actually be a part of who that person is when they're on the other product. Like think about Dom Mysterio. He's the NXT North American champion.
He brings it with him everywhere.
And he just defended it on Monday Night Raw against another NXT superstar. Like that's the kind of stuff you have to do. You can't just have these titles be a part of your entrance. They've got to actually mean something. So
I agree.
I would actually like to see if they go to Max. Here's what I would do. I would have Dynamite and Collision be 100% AEW shows.
Right.
I would have a Ring of Honor show that was specifically a Ring of Honor show. And then I would turn Rampage into an AEW Ring of Honor weekly show.
Right.
I would have Ring of Honor wrestlers.
Crossover.
And I would have AEW wrestlers. I would have AEW wrestlers defending AEW titles against AEW wrestlers, and same thing with Ring of Honor.
Right. Okay.
Because I think you need to, if you're really going to cross promote everything, you need to really cross promote it. You can't just do it in Word or on paper. You have to really cross promote it. And when an AEW champ goes to Ring of Honor, or a Ring of Honor champ comes to AEW, it has to mean something. That belt can't just be
there.
All right. Let's move on before we get too far in that. All right. So this is a match that I am super excited for. I think this might steal the show. Eddie Kingston and Katsuyori Shibata. We have the Ring of Honor World Championship, the NJPW Strong Openweight Championship. We've got title versus title. Like, this is exciting stuff. Like, I think this
Eddie Kingston decided to put both belts on the line, which I think is just awesome. I'm so happy for Eddie Kingston. I'm such an Eddie Kingston fan, and to see him beat Claudio for the ROH belt and see him get his moment in New York with all the fans, that was so cool. And he just deserves it. He's such a good wrestler, and he's one of the only few that makes you believe everything he says. Everything he says.
Absolutely. Major companies have been sleeping on Eddie Kingston for a long time. I throw everything he's done in like Ring of Honor out the window because I don't think it matters. Like the major companies have been sleeping on him for a long time, and all you've got to do is watch his promos. All you've got to do is read his lengthy column online where he wrote about all his struggles and everything that he's gone through. Like, this dude is somebody that every single person can relate to, because everybody may not have gone through everything he's gone through, but everybody's gone through something.
But everyone's gone through some struggle, and he is not afraid to admit it or announce it or say it. He's 100% like real. Like, that's what makes him so believable and so amazing, that everything he says, does in the ring, whatever he does, you feel it. You feel everything he does.
Bada boom, realest guy in the room. No, but here's the thing though. Like, I feel like this is the point now where Tony Khan is going all in on Eddie Kingston.
Which is amazing. I think it's because someone finally sees his worth.
Now, I hesitate to say this because I know how things go, but I I see Eddie as AEW World Champ one day.
Oh,
I see it
absolutely.
coming.
If he's not, then someone else is sleeping on him. But
Sure.
but the fact that he's now ROH World Champion and NJPW Open strong open weight champion
Yes.
is just
Yeah.
I don't think Shibata's belt's online. I think it's just
oh no, it is. Yeah, it's just those
just
two
both
titles
Eddie's
are
belts
online.
are
Yes.
online. Which
The pure
so,
championship
yeah,
is not
because
online.
because can you imagine if he won all three, he would just be like the ultimate champion. I'm like, yes, give him all the belts. Make him Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Give him all the belts. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is going to be a masterful match.
Oh,
I think
it's going to be.
This is possibly going to steal the show.
This might be
and
match of the night. Yeah.
I see Eddie Kingston going over.
Yep.
But I think it's going to be a great ride.
Crazy
to get there.
match. Yeah.
All right, so now we've got the AEW World Tag Team Championships with FTR defending against Aussie Open. Nothing against Aussie Open as wrestlers. I like them as wrestlers. I think they're talented guys. Nothing against them. I just don't like their gimmick at all. I don't understand the constant push they're getting because I don't feel like, and this is just me, I'm not like crapping on anything.
Is his opinion.
I'm not crapping on anything. I just, for me, they're not my taste.
Yeah.
But I also don't feel like, as much as they've tried to build them as credible challengers, I don't feel like they're credible challengers because I think there's about a snowball's chance in hell that they're actually going to win
I
the
don't see
titles.
them winning unless some sort of shenanigans happen.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
Someone comes out to help Aussie Open and then they win. But FTR is on such a ride right now that I don't see them losing anytime soon.
You don't take the titles off them now. There's no reason for that.
Yeah, they only have 3 years left.
Yeah, absolutely.
Until they're done. So
yeah, so you don't take the titles off of them. I think that's you keep the ride rolling. I think we need much bigger, much credible challengers to take
FTR.
those because here's the way I look at it, and I'm not comparing anybody to anybody. I'm just comparing like the situations.
Yeah,
but I feel like FTR are in the same sort of situation that Roman Reigns is in, because when we look at Roman Reigns, we say, all right, well, who's the guy that's going to take the title off of him? Like, who do we credibly see taking the title off of him? Who is believable to take the title off of him? And I feel like when we look at FTR, we got to think of it in the same way.
thing. Yeah, who's going to be the ones
who's going to be the credible one?
Yeah.
So this is not it.
Yeah, FTR's gonna win. I do think it's gonna be a great match. I see your point of not them being credible, but they are amazing talents. Aussie Open.
Yeah, I
don't see this being a bad match
against them,
at
and
all.
I don't see it being a bad match
No.
either. They're just not my cup of tea, and they're not credible challengers. So, all right. So I'm going to say that this next match is probably one of the 3 matches on this card that I think have the absolute possibility to steal the show. We've already talked about the Kingston
Eddie versus Shibata. Yep.
Right. So this match, Ricky Starks and Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah, that one. I wish I knew where that came from, because again, this week I've been kind of off the grid.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wheeler Yuta back from injury against Ricky Starks, and then Ricky Starks is on fire right now. So I've been loving his heel turn. Loving that they're finally putting a shine on him as well.
Yeah,
he's a talent in AEW that I've been following since day one. That he's just an amazing. He just gets it.
I feel like these guys. I would say that these two are the squirrels that are hiding in the bushes. You don't know they're there, but once they come out, like it is ridiculous. Like they're 100 miles an hour. They're ridiculous. I feel like they are 2 of the best kept secrets in professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
Wheeler Yuta has been, like the loser of the Blackpool Combat Club. And
Claudio, I love when Claudio has a promo and he's just beating up Yuta the entire promo.
Yeah,
it's like Yuta's just a punching bag for the promos.
But Yuta is so good. Anybody that knows his indie work knows how great Yuta is. And Ricky Starks just like rose through the ranks
kind of out of nowhere.
Yes,
but
really.
He's so good.
I actually believe that back in the day, if I remember correctly, during COVID, Busted Open was doing their Get Yourself Over Mondays.
Right.
And so indie wrestlers could call in on a Monday, and they would pick an indie wrestler every Monday and just let them talk and get themselves over. And Ricky Starks was one of those guys.
Yeah.
So, Ricky Starks has believed in himself from the beginning. Right. And I think a lot of things for Ricky Starks are finally going to pay off in big ways.
Yeah.
Like for me, I think that, and again, it's hard because I think both of these guys need a win in this situation.
Yeah, it's one of those scenarios where it's kind of a lose-lose situation.
I think
not a
Yuta
win-win.
right. I think Yuta really needs the win just because he's been losing so much, and I think that eventually that's going to cause issues in the BCC.
Yeah.
However, I think Ricky Starks needs this win as well
Yeah.
because I don't think people realize or are thinking about it enough about how big a win this would really be for
Yeah.
Ricky Starks. Because
Huge.
again, like those of us that really kind of follow the indie scene, like we're really big on Wheeler Yuta. Like we know how great he is. And I
Yeah.
think, internally this is going to be a huge win for Ricky Starks if he's able to pull
Yeah,
this
I
off.
think unfortunately for Yuta, the way Ricky Starks' stock's been rising, Ricky Starks is getting the win here. I don't see him losing it.
I think so as well, because I think this is also going to feed into that sort of crack in the BCC that's eventually gonna come forth.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Yuta could be the one that goes out, but they've been so strong now for kind of so long that like you don't even like think what was life before the BCC was formed, because now they've been together for so long, and they've just been adding members rather than taking away members. You know, you have Brian, you have Claudio, you have Mox, you have Yuta.
Well,
you had Regal, but like
I was gonna say, don't make that statement in front of Regal because he will vehemently disagree. That's a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
All right. So now we go to the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships, which has become a handicap match.
Oh yeah,
because Adam Cole, Bebe is wheelchair bound. Apparently,
it's crazy that like the smallest things can have an injury, not even a move. He literally jumped off the stage and he broke his ankle in like 3 places.
Yeah,
so he did. It wasn't a move. It wasn't he just jumped off the stage and boom.
I don't know if he'll be. I don't know if he'll be at the arena or if maybe he'll be on a boat with Captain Insano watching this.
Dude,
match.
That was an amazing segment. I was dying live again.
Yeah.
One thing AEW does right is the fun side of wrestling. When they do it, they nail it. And this whole
absolutely
Adam Cole Bebe with MJF and all their backstage segments are just golden.
Yeah, it's been really good. So he is defending the titles in a handicap match against the Righteous.
I don't see the Righteous winning.
I don't either,
because I feel like this is just to kind of keep the story with MJF and Adam Cole going until Adam gets better with his ankle.
Yeah,
I do see shenanigans in play because of the Kingdom, Matt Taven, Roddy Strong, and
there's two things I see happening. So that's one of them, because I think that there could be, some shenanigans involved there. But I've been hearing some whispers that the plan going forward for MJF is going to be a feud with Jay White.
Yeah, I saw that because they did that crazy promo on Dynamite.
So if that's the case, MJF could get the win and then get the beat down from the Righteous and be left in the ring, and Jay White could come out and clean his clock.
Yeah.
To further to like really get that feud jump started. So it could go either way. I honestly would not be surprised if, we saw Roddy Strong sort of make the save for MJF, because I feel like this would be an interesting time for him to show his allegiance to a different person.
Yeah,
because we talked about this long ago when we talked about how I kind of surmised that I thought there may be a Roddy turn where he's actually supporting MJF instead
rather than being against him.
Yeah,
and
this could be the chance.
And I think this could kind of play into the whole Adam Cole best friend thing, where Roddy, because he realizes that Adam Cole is not as best friends with him as MJF is, he can kind of steal MJF from him and say, now he's my best friend, you're out.
Yeah, that could be really interesting. So it could be, I mean, what if they do one of those situations where they kind of go the Chelsea Green route, and MJF is like, you know what, since Adam Cole's out, well, Roddy Strong's the other tag team champ now. Like that would be fun.
Yeah. So who's winning this one?
Yeah, MJF is getting the win. Yeah. We're not I don't think we're changing titles until Adam Cole's back.
Yeah, and I think the Righteous just started with it, AEW, so I don't see them winning right away.
Yeah,
like they just started to build them up for weeks now, so I don't think they're gonna win.
Yeah,
just yet. Plus, I think they're mainly ROH guys, obviously. So obviously, whatever.
Mhm.
But I don't know. MJF for the win.
Yeah. So okay. So here's this is an interesting match because Julia Hart is getting her first singles pay-per-view match, and she's getting a TBS championship shot against Chris Statlander.
She's been killing it, by the way. When she first started out with the Varsity Blondes, I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. But since she's joined the House of Black, she's been really coming into her own as like her own person, and like she has her own theme song, her own entrance now. Like she has it all. She's now one package, and like she's really been showing her in-ring abilities, her promo abilities, her everything. She's really been like stepping up now. So I think not that I think she'll technically win the match. I think she'll do a good showing though.
Well, as they always say, some people go over and some people get over.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be another stepping stone for Chris Statlander, where they're trying to really build her championship reign and giving her credible challengers that she beats.
Yeah.
I really think that and I think this is bad timing, I think, because I really think that they should put the title on Julia Hart, because I really think that they should be building House of Black. But the problem is, we know Malachi's got an injury that he's, apparently getting better from and should be back soon. But we've also seen there were rumors that and again, we don't know anything for sure, but there was talk that Brody King may have punched a wall when they were over in London.
When
we saw
when everything happened. Yeah.
And we saw like a black cast on his hand.
Yeah.
So I'm a little concerned that maybe that there are too many people injured to really start the big push for House of Black. But I think we need to see like total dominance from House of Black. I think we need to see them start winning titles, building something here, because I think there's something there for it.
Oh yeah, they were great trio champions, and I love their concept of the House of Black open challenge match where the opponents made the rules, and I just love that whole concept. So I think that was really cool.
So I definitely think Chris Statlander's going over in this one. I don't think we're having any title changes.
As much as I just said and praised Julia Hart, I think it's not her time yet, even though again I think it should be, but it's just not yet.
No. All right. So now we have Chris Jericho teaming with the Golden Elite of Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi versus the Don Callis family of Takeshita, Sammy Guevara, and Will Ospreay.
Yeah, this could be, I think, another contender for match of the night, because you have Jericho, you have Kenny, you have Kota, which I'm going to see something kind of controversial here.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull you.
Uh-oh.
Kota's been kind of disappointing me.
Really?
For all the push that they gave him, the last few matches that he's had on AEW, has been kind of meh.
Yeah.
Like when he was in the War Games match, I don't know, it just something didn't click for me. Like I know he's this great Japanese wrestler and he's a legend, like in his own right, but I don't know. I haven't been seeing.
You're not seeing it.
No, I'm not seeing it. So I don't know if he's maybe kind of like laxed, not was like as into it as he used to be. But hopefully he'll show that side of him tomorrow night. But
yeah.
But then again, you have Guevara, you have Ospreay, which is just he's been having a tear the last few months, beating every big name you can imagine. And then the newcomer, he's or the Alpha, as Don Callis calls him.
Yeah. I did not necessarily put this in my top 3 just because the other match that I think is going to tear this up, I think is really going to tear it up. However, this match is going to be incredible. This match is going to be full of just incredible wrestling, because you have such talented people.
Star
I mean,
power,
you are looking at and nothing against like Sammy Guevara or Takeshita, but you are looking at 4 names in this match that I think, well, 3 of them I think could be considered, like top 3 wrestlers in the world.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, I think Jericho is just such a talent.
Yeah.
For what he's doing, for his age, for everything that, like, he is just a phenomenal just talent for everything that he's able to do. So I'm looking for big things from this match.
Yeah.
I think this match is going to be a wrestling
clinic.
I think it is going to be incredible. And quite honestly, I think, as much as I hate to say it, I think the Don Callis family is going to pick up the win
I
here.
think they need the win here. I think if you're going to make a new faction and you're going to make a new group and you're going to have Don Callis lead it,
Mhm.
you got to give him some big wins. And I mean, you have with Keshta beating Kenny twice,
Mhm.
but they need a definitive win.
I think this is like them winning this match, I think, is the best way to keep this thing going.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think that, Chris Jericho and the Golden Elite getting the win here is going to really
I don't think it's going to do anything
forward the feud very much.
I don't think
but
it's going to do much.
who knows? We could see some. Well, I mean, we could see anything happen here. I feel like we could see someone else joining the Don Callis family. I think we could see either. Well, I think it would probably be Ibushi might make the turn if somebody makes the turn. However,
Yeah,
I see somebody coming out of nowhere,
Yeah,
like
just
somebody
a
we're
random-
not even
just a
expecting.
rando, yeah.
Yeah, I see that happening. So, that's. But I definitely think Don Callis family gets the win on this one, and I think they
need the win. I
Yeah,
think
you're
I
absolutely
don't
right.
think the Golden Elite and Jericho need it as much as the Don Callis family need it, because again,
Yeah,
if you're going to build this new vicious heel team, they have to get some wins. They can't just losing every time.
All right, so now we've got a couple singles matches. We've got Hangman Adam Page, as we talked about earlier, against Swerve Strickland.
Yeah, dude. I know you're not the biggest Swerve fan.
I really
am
not.
I think it's going to be a great match. I've always been a Swerve fan, and I think that this is going to be a match to watch. I think it's going to be a sleeper match, honestly.
Yeah.
I think this match is going to be one that nobody really is watching, but they need to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I could
Swerve
see
is
that.
a talent. Hangman is enough said.
Sure.
So I think it's going to be just a crazy match that might be overlooked because of all the other matches that are on the card.
Yeah. Well, and I will say the promo they did on Dynamite this week, I think, sold a lot of people in the match that may not have been sold on it. So I think it's going to be a good match either way. I probably see Swerve Strickland getting the win here again, because I think to move it forward, to take it, to the next step, I think that's the logical. But again, I mean, we could just get, Adam Page with the win for, hey, let's be happy at the show.
Yeah, let's be happy that Adam Page won. Yeah,
who knows? But I would have to pick Swerve Strickland if I was going with anybody here.
Swerve. I think they're slowly building Swerve now as like a solo singles guy, even though he is with the group, but like he's the spotlight of the group.
Yeah.
So I think if you need to build him up and build up his stock, he needs to get some wins as well.
Yes. All right. So this is probably the match I'm most excited for on the card, just because since day one, I have been a huge Christian fan.
Oh yeah.
And so we have the 2 out of 3 falls match for the TNT Championship. We have Christian Cage, who has been carrying the title for long enough that they finally said, you know what?
Let's just give him the actual belt.
Give him the act. Let's let him. Let's make the claims true. Let's give it to him.
The backstage statement where the Renee asked him how he was to be champion. He goes, "What do you mean? I've been champion the whole time."
Yeah, the delusional nature of Christian Cage
so good.
is just, yes, he is phenomenal at what he does in the ring and out of the ring. And again, I think for as great as he has been, he's really getting a good matchup here in Darby Allin, because I think their talents are going to mesh together very well. Because to me, this feels like, and again, I'm not comparing anybody to anybody, but if we were like going back to like the Attitude Era, for me, this would be like a Christian Cage Jeff Hardy match.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? And not just because of like the face paint and all that stuff, but I think that like Darby Allin has become a talent in a similar way that Jeff Hardy is a talent. So I think his set of skills, his style in the ring, what he does, I think that's going to match up very well with Christian Cage, which is why I'm excited that this is 2 out of 3 falls.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy.
They're giving this time to breathe. They're not just letting it be, because it's for the TNT Championship, but you could almost see this as like maybe like because if you go with the trios match with Jericho and the Golden Elite,
Yeah.
and the Don Callis family, this could be your kind of buffer between that match and the final match.
Yeah.
So I definitely see this going on like semi-main, because this is the TNT Championship thing has become a big story.
Oh yeah, it's become the story almost.
Yeah. So I think this match is going to be incredible. I think that we're going to see some Nick Wayne interference. We may even see Luchasaurus
Yeah, I
make
was
an
saying
appearance.
between Luchasaurus and
if
Wayne, it's going to be
if Nick Wayne gets the win over Luchasaurus, I could see Nick Wayne coming out to screw Christian Cage, and then Luchasaurus coming out to make the save.
Yeah.
Which then in turn, I don't think we're going to see the Luchasaurus turn quite yet.
No,
we're going to see it eventually. But
like I said, slow build, give it time to breathe.
Yeah.
Sort of do some little teases here and there, like they did the other night with when Luchasaurus grabbed the belt, held it for a second, and then lost it.
So we say they each get a decision, and we're down to the third fall. And Nick Wayne comes out to screw Christian. Luchasaurus comes out, makes the save. Christian gets the win. Luchasaurus comes in the ring with the belt, and Luchasaurus is holding the belt, and Christian grabs it out of his hand and gets up on the like I see it all happening. But I think again, no disrespect to Darby Allin, I think this is going to be a banger of a match. I think this is going to be fun from beginning to end.
It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be talented. And but I think Christian Cage gets the win here. I don't see.
Do you think this could be the main event? Because MJF doesn't have a world title match on the show. He has the tag match, but otherwise it would be obviously the Bryan Danielson match.
I think that's I think that's the one. Because again, if you're looking at, because when we're talking about that match specifically, if you're looking at Bryan Danielson, he has been talking about how his career is winding down. And how,
this could possibly be his last year as a full-time wrestler.
Yes. Yeah. And so we're starting to see, these matchups that if it's true, then these are matchups we really need to see. Yeah. And a name like Zack Sabre Jr. against Bryan Danielson, I don't see how you don't make that the main event.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I was gonna take a main event other than that, I'd put on Eddie Kingston in the main event, to be honest. But even over the TNT Championship. But I think this is probably the most anticipated match on the card, because again, I think a lot of people
this is like the dream match.
Well, I think a lot of people, when they heard this match announced, a lot of people were starting to think, well, gee, is this just going to be another Forbidden Door? Are we just bringing in guys and like making dream matches again? No, but if it's true that this is Danielson's last full year as an in-ring competitor, then we need to see every match of his has to be special. Every match of his has to be
name, a big match,
a dream match, something that
something that fans would want to see before. Because well, what they're saying is, which is kind of cool, is that he may not stop wrestling, but he'll become more of like a special attraction where he'll be more behind the scenes and producing. But when they need him, he can do a match here and there. Yeah. But he won't be active every week.
Yeah,
he won't be a full-time wrestler, but he will be like a special, kind of like a Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. So let me ask you, who do you got in this one? I'll let you go first.
I love both of them so much, and I don't know if you have never seen a Zack Sabre match. You have to go search out a Zack Sabre match, because Zack Sabre is one of the best technical wrestlers in the modern era. Like, he's just,
absolutely.
He can bend you in ways that you shouldn't never be meant to bend.
Yes. And if you want to see a really good Zack Sabre Jr. match, I'm going to suggest one to you. If you want to see a really good Zack Sabre Jr. match, you are going to go online and you are going to look up Zack Sabre Jr. versus Juan Francisco de Coronado from Chikara, and you will see a great match. That's just my opinion, but you can't go wrong with any Zack Sabre Jr. match. He's been all over. He's done a lot of great things. But who do you got?
It's like I said, it's hard. I want to say Bryan, but I feel like Zack Sabre could get the win. I feel like like Bryan's the obvious answer, but Zack Sabre Jr. Like,
here's the thing. So I think the way they're going with Zack Sabre Jr. is they're trying to build him, where they could start talking about him in the vein of like the best wrestler in the entire world.
I mean,
So-
if he's not, he should be.
So I don't. So I would think that I would think that he taps out Brian in the middle of the ring. I
Dude,
would
that
think
would
that
be
like I've read online.
sold.
I've read online various predictions where people have said like Zack Sabre Jr. gets a surprise win, like he hooks Brian in something and Brian can't get out. I don't want to see any surprises. I don't want to see anything that's going to make what Zack Sabre Jr. does seem like a fluke or just a surprise roll up or hey, I caught Brian.
Yeah,
I want to see him, take down Brian and definitively
beat him clean.
lock him in
Yeah.
something in the middle of
Mhm.
the ring and beat him completely clean. Because I don't think it does Zack Sabre Jr. any favors, and it doesn't accomplish what you're trying to do if you don't have him just 100% just, because I think it's going to be a back and forth. I think we're going to
absolutely.
see
It's going to be
a lot of submissions. I think we're going to see a lot of possibilities where guys could get tapped out, and I think they're just going to work together very well.
I think it's going to be such a like how we saw LSG versus Speedball.
yes,
I think it's going to be in the vein of that match where it was just so fluid. Everything is so like boom, 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 boom.
right.
And because I think their styles will mesh together so well. You
Mhm.
have, both sides. And again, I think now if this is his last full year, Brian doesn't need any at this point in his career. He can just elevate other stars now, and he can just
Yeah.
push others
Yeah.
to better, push Zack Sabre to the next level. Like
Mhm.
he doesn't need the win at this point. It's just, hey, I want to wrestle these guys and get them over.
Well, and I think
know?
this is the time now because with Zack Sabre, if you haven't really been like following him on the indies, he hasn't gotten a lot of major company exposure
No,
here in the US. In Japan,
he
it's
is a
completely
sleeper
different.
talent.
Yeah, it's a complete different story, but he's had that great credibility on the indies here for years and years and years, but now I think he's really starting to break through to the sort of main company spotlight.
Yeah.
And I feel like AEW is the perfect place for that because I feel like that's what they're really doing. They're really kind of building up these these talents that we may not have had the chance to really see before,
Yeah.
but have been out there in the indies for years that people.
Yeah, he's been around
Again,
for so long, but again, not many people have access
It's-
to see his work, but his work speaks for itself.
It's the same thing with Eddie Kingston.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
So who do you got then?
I think Zack Sabre Jr. is getting the win. I think
Yeah.
I think he's gonna take him down right in the middle of the ring. I think he's gonna lock something in, and Danielson's gonna have no choice but to tap out. And I think we're gonna see the two of them get up afterwards. I think they're gonna shake hands.
Shake hands.
Danielson's gonna raise his hand. Roll out of
that spotlight.
roll
yeah.
out of the ring, and
Mhm.
Zack Sabre will have his
roll out the
moment.
red carpet, give him his flowers, and then end the show.
So if you're not if you're in the Seattle area, I'm sure you can probably still get
Don't
tickets to
miss
the
it.
event. If you're not, then check that out wherever you get your AEW pay-per-views tomorrow night.
Bleacher Report, Fight TV,
Yeah,
wherever you get it.
wherever you get it,
Do it. Check it out. It's gonna
Yeah,
be a big show.
be sure to hop on that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a short break while you check out this message from our sponsor, Ref Larry's Wrestling Collectibles, and we will be back with our main event right here on Opinion City.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Introducing Ref Larry's Wrestling Collectibles, your ultimate destination for all things wrestling nostalgia. At Ref Larry's Wrestling Collectibles, they don't just sell items, they curate memories. Whether you're a fan of the classic era or modern showdowns, they've got something for everyone. Ref Larry's Wrestling Collectibles sells DVDs, books, magazines, action figures, and so much more. So stop on by Ref Larry's Wrestling Collectibles, where every piece tells a story and every fan becomes a part of the legacy. Ref Larry's Wrestling Collectibles is conveniently located inside Mother Tucker's Antiques and Collectibles, located at 566 North Reading Road in Ephrata, PA. Stop on by Thursday through Monday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Give them a call at 717-405-0153 or find them on social media at Ref Larry's WC. Ref Larry's Wrestling Collectibles is a proud sponsor of the Opinion City podcast. And now, back to the show.
One.
All right, we are back here on Opinion City, and we want to thank Ref Larry's Collectibles for being a proud sponsor of the Opinion City podcast. If you'd like to be a sponsor, please email us at opinioncitypod@gmail.com.
You know what that means?
It is time.
It's time. It is time for us to get into
The
our
main event
main event.
of the evening. All right, so this week we're doing top 5 wrestlers who have succeeded after leaving WWE, because last week we talked about all the releases that happened.
Mhm.
Black Thursday, 20 wrestlers gone. This week we're going to talk about the ones that got released but succeeded after they left.
All right. This is it's going to be a really interesting topic, I think, because there's a lot of names that spring to mind
A
immediately,
lot, yeah.
but just kind of, putting it together in a list and trying to figure out, like, who's been more successful.
Yeah.
What do we consider success? It's been really interesting. And I will say that a number of my picks, because I feel like when you think about this topic, I feel like the first thing you think of is like, hey, this guy failed in WWE, so now he's going somewhere else, and look what he's done. But some of the people that I picked weren't exactly failures in WWE,
No,
but had much bigger success elsewhere. So,
oh yeah, of course.
all right. So, you want to start us off?
Yeah, we've been talking about him pretty much the entire show. My number 5 is Christian Cage,
Okay.
because I feel like in WWE he was just second fiddle to Edge, and he didn't get the proper
Mhm.
spotlight. He is such a good in-ring wrestler, on the mic, everything, and he didn't get the proper, I think, spotlight in WWE that he could have gotten.
Mhm.
And since going to AEW, they've shined that light tenfold.
Absolutely.
And his heel work has been nothing short of
Mhm.
incredible. The fact that he always looks for someone's family member who's dead, and he focuses on that, is just been hilarious, and so
Yeah.
also, but so morbid at the same time. It's just been nothing short of phenomenal.
Yeah.
His work has been, he's finally proving that his worth as a wrestler is the guy.
Yeah.
So he's just, I can see why you're such a huge fan of his, because he's
Mhm.
just, his work rate is incredible. And even at his age, I think he's, close to 50 now, and he's still able to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe 48, 49. And he's finally getting that spotlight of, oh, I can do this. And this is what you missed out on.
Mhm.
Especially, I love the fact that he wrestles in a turtleneck.
Oh yeah.
Just
that's
so
like-
good.
Yeah.
So-
You I mean, you really want to annoy people. That's
That's how
the
you
way
do
to
it.
do it. Like that's some heel stuff right
what are your
there.
thoughts on Christian Cage?
I like the Christian pick. I'm gonna reserve some of my comments for Christian because no surprise, but he is on my list. So I'm gonna reserve my Christian comments for
Right.
a little bit. But I love the pick. I love your reasoning and where you're going with that. So definitely a good number 5.
Yeah, it's
Had to
just,
be on the list.
yeah, he had to be. I mean, he would have been higher, but there were so many names of people that have been successful that I at least wanted to mention them, if not number 1, number 5.
Mhm.
So
Okay, so my number 5, I went with Bully Ray. So for a number of reasons. All right. So Bully Ray started out, again, building on his success. Bully Ray started out in ECW, where he was an 8-time tag team champion,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is ridiculous.
big time.
So then he moves on to WWE. If you look at what he was able to do in WWE, multiple time tag team champ. He did have a brief singles run in WWE where he won the Hardcore Championship. But I feel like WWE wasn't really his place.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dudleys never really, I don't know. The Dudleys did not see the same success in WWE that they saw elsewhere.
Right.
So moving on to TNA, he basically held every TNA championship. There were some missteps. Aces and Eights wasn't exactly the barn burner that everybody thought it was.
wasn't,
I mean,
but the reveal was
it was
amazing.
a decent
the whole reveal of that. He marries Hogan's daughter.
Yeah, there
only
were
to-
there
that
were
was just-
moments
yeah,
that
that
were
was
really there were moments that were
great,
really good. but you look at like his time in TNA, which led Team 3 to be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So that's, a huge deal. Over his career, he is the most decorated tag team wrestler of all time. Like through all the promotions that he's had tag
think it's
titles
like
in, all
20
the
plus
success. It's pretty
reigns
crazy.
with him and Devon.
He's had great runs in Ring of Honor and just the indie scene in general. He's been active in Impact recently.
Yep.
Team 3D reunited again. They were a huge part of Impact 1000.
Yep.
That was one of the big selling points for Impact
Mhm.
1000. But even beyond all of that, they have the Team 3D Wrestling Academy down
Yep.
in Florida that they run. And since 2018, he's been a host on Busted Open. And now he's got his own show. Every Wednesday night, they have Busted Open After Dark,
Yep.
where he does a live reaction show to AEW Dynamite. So
Mhm.
I feel like he's kind of, transcended this idea of being just a wrestler, and he's done a lot of other things. So Bully Ray is my number 5.
That's a pick that's a pick I surprisingly didn't think about, surprisingly.
Yeah, I started thinking about other things. Like I put wrestling as a huge factor into this, but I
course.
also started thinking about other things too. So
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, let's get your number 4.
My number 4 is probably one of the first ones to actually do it, where they left WWE, rebuilt their stock, and came back. And I'm talking about Drew McIntyre.
Oh.
He was released back in June 12th, 2014.
Mhm.
And this was when he was with 3MB, with Heath Slater and Jinder Mahal.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, when he was signed, Vince kept calling him the Chosen One originally.
Yeah, that was the
And
plan.
He did some good things in the beginning, but then they kind of relegated him to the trio of 3MB, and kind of his stock kept getting lower and lower and lower until he was released. And then what did he do? He left, went as Drew Galloway, and just took the indie scene by storm. Went to almost every promotion imaginable, Involve, Insane Championship Wrestling, Impact, Defiant, PWG, and just made his name and stock back. That way, when he did come back to WWE, you knew who Drew McIntyre was.
Yeah,
because of what he did outside of WWE. So he came back by storm, and he became their champion during COVID. Like, it took him to leave for them to see, wow, Drew McIntyre really is like the guy.
Yeah. So Drew McIntyre didn't make my list, but I will say this about Drew McIntyre. I think that he is the 100% blueprint for taking what they don't see in you in WWE and using that as motivation to go out and make a name for yourself where there's no choice but for WWE to see who and what you are and what they're missing. I think that everybody that's done it since him has gone through the same blueprint.
Yeah.
I think that Cody Rhodes is in the same vein, because
pretty much,
he basically did the same thing. It's just Drew did it first.
Yeah.
And Drew came back, had his moment. I feel like Drew is probably one of those guys that is, for the most part, I think, going to ride out the rest of his career in WWE, because if he didn't sign with AEW when his contract was up just recently, I don't think it's going to happen
now.
No, I think if he was going to make the jump, it would have been that time, but I don't see WWE doing a whole lot with him right now. I
think I don't know. I think he's kind of like in the vein of AJ Styles, where you have a talent, but you just don't know what to do with him. Like, he's there, but like,
yeah. And I think he's also, and again, AJ Styles is a real good name to bring up, because I think the two of them are both, these workhorses that WWE can pretty much stick them in any spot and put them in the ring with anybody, and they're going to have a great match. So I think he's valuable in that respect. But again, that makes me wonder, like, if they feel that way about him, what happened with Dolph Ziggler? Why didn't they feel that way about him?
Exactly.
And it just, not to get off on a tangent here, but on the Dolph Ziggler thing, I thought it was really interesting that Booker T made the comment, like, hey, this guy's been around for how many years, and everybody's talking about, like, oh, what didn't they see in him? Well, he's basically been the same character for the same, for the whole time he's been here. Like, did he just put it in cruise control and just kind of, coast through? Like, what has this guy been doing to really put himself out there? So I just thought that was an interesting take on it.
It was interesting, but I don't know if I really necessarily believe that, because he's Dolph Ziggler, and I mean, really, who was Dolph Ziggler other than a workhorse wrestler that could do anything and sell anything?
Yeah.
But his promo work, later on in his career, was just better and better every time. Like,
I mean,
like his promo with The Miz
Mhm.
for the IC belt, where he was like basically like, if I can't beat you, I don't have a career. I'll quit.
Yeah.
One of the best promos I think that he's ever done. Like,
So I can see both sides of
yeah,
it.
I can
but
see, I can, but like, I don't know. I think Dolph Ziggler was like our other show, one of the more underrated and underutilized talent that they could have done so much more
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
They had the talent. They made him champion only for it to be right away.
Yeah.
Like he had it.
So I definitely like your pick of Drew McIntyre. I think he, kind of, again, he didn't make my list, but I think he kind of embodies what we're talking about here. This spirit of like, hey, you guys don't see the worth in me. I'm going to go out and prove it. And now you're going to have no choice but to bring me back.
Yeah, because now you see that I
mean,
am worth it. Yeah.
Cody Rhodes went on an AEW pay-per-view and took a sledgehammer and smashed a throne.
Yeah.
And they still brought him back.
Yep.
So like
Yeah.
there's a point where you can't deny certain people's talent.
Of course.
And
Yeah. You really
Drew
can't,
McIntyre is a great example of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So my number 4, I went with Kurt Angle.
Okay.
So again, this is a guy that has had lots of success. He started off, he was a collegiate champion for Clarion University of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
He was an Olympic champion. And then he almost had his start in professional wrestling with ECW.
Oh, really?
He attended an ECW show, and it happened to, now they showed him in the crowd, and it happened to be the same show where Raven crucified the Sandman to a cross with barbed wire.
Oh.
So then Kurt Angle then went to Paul Heyman and said, listen, I didn't know about any of that. I didn't sign up for any of that.
Yeah.
If I'm shown on TV with that, it is going to ruin me.
Yep.
So if you put that on TV, I'll sue you.
Oh, Jesus.
Which I understand. Like I get the whole
that
thing.
makes sense because he probably thought wrestling, not violence.
Yeah. So here's a guy who had a great WWE career, a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah.
A big deal here. But I feel like for everything that he did in WWE, I think his run in TNA was better. He was.
Oh, it was. Mm-hmm.
He was an inaugural TNA champ, a record 6-time holder.
Yeah.
He was a 2-time King of the Mountain.
Yep.
He was in the Main Event Mafia, which
was probably one of my favorite groups.
Incredible.
So short-lived.
He's the second wrestler to be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame after Sting. So that's some pretty big company there.
Yeah.
Throughout his time in wrestling, he has held 21 pro wrestling championships. Woo! Actually winning 13 different, a 13-time champion winning 21 different championships. He was again a WWE Hall of Famer, a TNA Hall of Famer. And his run in TNA, I think some of his matches in TNA, especially like feuds with Samoa Joe, I think TNA were honestly some of his best wrestling matches. Like because
bar none,
because it's a different style than WWE, and I think the TNA style favored him more than WWE did. So and it was enough to bring him back to WWE television, not only induct him into the Hall of Fame, but then bring him in as the Raw general manager. I feel like, and this is the hard part of it, and I think this is why I kind of put him at number 4, and not to mention I think my other 3 choices should be higher than him, but I feel like for everything that he did, WWE really did him very badly at the end. His retirement match to Corbin at WrestleMania 35. He
wanted to be Cena, and they said next year.
Was embarrassing.
Yeah. He wanted. He asked Vince for it to be Cena, and all Vince says was, "We'll do it next year."
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And Angle didn't want to do it another year. Angle wanted to be done with it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to wait another year. He wanted to. I'm done.
So then on top of that, it was just like sporadic appearances here and there as like special guest referees, or I think he special guest refereed a match down at NXT.
He was
like
honorary member of the Shield one time because
he
was hurt.
Like, he did something with DX on TV one time, like that kind of stuff. The thing with the Shield was cool. Don't get me wrong. That was
cool,
but like I feel like because he went away and had so much success in TNA, I feel like WWE always held that against him.
Yeah.
I think they had no choice but to put him in the Hall of Fame. Like it had to be done.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So it had to be done, but I don't think they ever forgot that, he went to TNA and actually was, I think, a bigger success in TNA than he was in WWE.
And his build up to his debut, they really like hammered it home like, hey, we have Kurt Angle.
Oh yeah.
Like you need to tune in because we got Kurt Angle. Like they made it a huge deal.
They were super excited for that. Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. So that's my number 4.
Yeah. My number 3 is man of many hats. I think he really took that whole idea of I'm gonna leave and ran with it.
Mhm.
I'm talking about the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, Y2J, Le Champion, the Ocho, the Wizard. The names can go on and on. He's done so much to reinvent himself year after year after year that when they decided to have him and Owens, which was probably one of the best storylines of that year, go on second for Mania, he was like, "No, I'm done." I was like, "You don't see the value in me. You don't see the
Yep.
worth." That was originally supposed to be the main event for the world title, and then they changed it to the U.S. belt, the second match on.
Yeah.
When that happened, he was like, "I'm done. I
Yep.
can show you my worth." And when he went through New Japan and had those matches with Omega and all that, it was just he proved that alone that he is worth more than they ever saw in him.
Yeah.
And then he went to New Japan, did all that, went to AEW. Like he is so good at reinventing the wheel always and keeping himself fresh. That like it's just crazy now what they didn't see
Yeah.
in Jericho.
Yeah.
His stock is just now up to here because
Mhm.
of how many times he's able to reinvent himself and just keep that train going.
Mhm.
All because WWE just didn't, see,
Yeah.
I guess, his worth.
They did not.
So
Yeah. So the speaker from Pennsylvania will reserve his comments for a later time.
the
But I-
speaker will reserve.
But I definitely I love your pick. There's no way we could do this list without him.
No, 'cause-
absolutely not.
Even though Drew started it and Cody kind of did the same thing, Jericho was the one that didn't come back. He said, "No, you guys didn't see me.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay here and sign with AEW and build them up."
And again, the speaker from Pennsylvania
gonna reserve his
reserves his
comments.
comments for later. But I will say this much, though, I think that honestly, Chris Jericho signing with AEW was not only the most important signing they've ever had, but I also think that it was the biggest and most impactful signing they've ever had,
Yeah.
because I feel like even though you had, the Bucks, Kenny Omega,
Hangman,
Cody,
yeah.
Hangman, you had all that. Chris Jericho was the foundation that those guys were building
Yeah.
themselves on
Mhm.
when they started AEW. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's not enough good words to say about him.
No.
I'll say some more later. All right. So my number three pick, I think will probably surprise you.
Okay.
My number 3 pick is Colt Cabana.
Ooh, okay.
Now,
That is a
here's-
surprising one.
All right. So obviously Colt Cabana had a lot of success. Ring of Honor,
Yep.
the independent scene,
Mhm.
pretty much everywhere. Chikara. He was actually a member of Wrestling Society X on
Oh, yeah.
MTV
That's right.
because he wrestled under his other gimmick, Matt Classic. And
Yeah.
those
I
of you who
remember
have not seen Matt
that.
Classic,
Matt Classic.
go back and check out either Wrestling Society X or check out some old Chikara shows,
Do
because Matt Classic is a throwback to the 70s and 80s wrestler, the masked wrestler, and it is a phenomenal gimmick. But then he shows up in WWE and he is saddled with the offensively poor gimmick of Scotty Goldman.
Yeah, that wasn't.
It was the biggest waste of time.
It's just nothing. Just they had no plans for him other than, hey, you're this, that's it, and they had nothing.
To see a talent crapped on like that. I
It was
don't
bad.
know that I've seen somebody, because I think this was the time where WWE didn't really value what people had done on the indies. They didn't.
They didn't care. They just
No.
wanted you to come to our fold and do it their way.
So then
So-
he spent maybe 2 years, I believe, in WWE before he was released from his contract.
Yep.
And from there, this man pretty much wrestled all over the world.
Mhm.
There were not, countries with major wrestling shows where you could not find him doing something. Then he used that to build his career and come back to start working with Ring of Honor and AEW. And now he has worked himself up to a point where he's a coach in AEW and
Yeah.
Ring of Honor. Like,
Yeah.
the success that he has had, and the success that he has been able to have for himself,
Yeah.
there are very few people that are able to do what he's done.
Yeah.
And I will say this, and I hope I'm not spoiling anything for you, but I will say this much.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well,
Maybe.
I don't want to spoil your list, but I have to say that, like, Colt Cabana is on the same level as Matt Cardona. But
Mhm.
here's what I will say, and this is why Colt Cabana is on my list and Matt Cardona is not. And nothing against Matt Cardona, because honestly, I think Matt Cardona is not just a talent, but I really feel like Matt Cardona is a great guy.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I say that, I think he takes a lot of crap for the character he plays and the image he presents
Yeah.
as that character. But the tweet that he put out after the last Black Thursday we had with all the releases,
it was
the tweet that he put out to everyone, that, do not worry because there is life after WWE, and if you want it, you can go out there and make it. Like I thought that,
want it, go get it.
That was just a brilliant thing to do. But this is why Colt Cabana made my list and he didn't. Colt Cabana, I believe, and he's not my personal inspiration, although he had a big part in playing. He had a big part to play in how I got myself started in actually being able to do this.
Yeah.
He was not my personal inspiration for doing this, but I will say that Colt Cabana is the reason that we're all here.
Yeah.
The Art of Wrestling podcast
Great
is
podcast.
the podcast that literally put professional wrestling podcasts on the map.
Yeah,
it made it cool to have a professional wrestling podcast. He did it very well. For the most part, when things started out, he was interviewing people from his studio apartment in Chicago.
Yeah.
And he then started taking it on the road and interviewing people on the road, as well as still doing interviews from his studio apartment in Chicago. But it was so professional sounding. Like it was such a professionally done podcast. And he made this happen, and he's over 400 episodes in. Like,
it's crazy.
This is incredible. And he, I believe, honestly, is the reason that we are all sitting here.
Yeah.
So for me, he had to be on my list because I feel like he's a great example of not just becoming a success after WWE, but becoming a success in just multiple avenues, and actually
just wrestling,
and actually creating an avenue for himself to become a success and to allow others to do it as well.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good.
Yeah. All right. Number 2.
All right, getting to the top of the list here.
Getting there.
Number 2 for me, I think it wasn't really a thought. Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
The fact that he got released from WWE when he was Stardust, they didn't see his worth. They basically made him Goldust's sidekick as Stardust.
Mm-hmm.
He got tired of it. He got released, or he quit, whichever one it was, maybe both. And then he went to Ring of Honor, went to Impact, rebuilt up stock, started a company in AEW. Like he decided, I'm going to pave my own path, make myself a name. He created the American Nightmare persona and created his own persona other than just being Cody Rhodes. And then, like Drew McIntyre they were forced to say, okay, we need you back.
Yeah.
We need you back. We see your stock. We see what you've done. We see all the work that you put into the indies to making AEW what it is today. We need you back. And the fact that they let him keep everything is huge. The theme song, the entrance, the look, he kept everything.
Well, he made Cody Rhodes, he made being Cody Rhodes a brand.
Yeah.
Like there's no way you could just take Cody Rhodes halfway. You had to take the whole package because he made it a brand that people love.
He made himself a name.
And guys like Drew McIntyre may have done it first, and others may have done it better, but nobody did it bigger than Cody Rhodes. The man went out and
went full on. He was like, I'm not just gonna go in the indies. I'm gonna make my own company.
I mean, they sold out a Chicago show in what, a minute?
Yeah.
And then that parlayed into this whole new company that now is, quite honestly, I mean, nobody's ever going to beat WWE because WWE's got everything behind them.
They have so history, many years already into it. They have decades.
Nobody's ever going to beat them, but it's not about beating them. And I really feel like the Monday Night Wars, for as great as they were and as amazing as it was to be a wrestling fan at that time, I think they really sort of ruined us because now we have this mentality that anytime there's more than one company, it has to be a war between them instead of, hey, everybody can survive, everybody can succeed, and we can enjoy everything. Like, I don't have to just love WWE. I can love AEW as well and still not feel bad about it because both companies are putting on great shows and I get to watch all of it.
Yeah.
Like
I think Omega said it best when they signed Jade to WWE. Kenny pretty much shut all the naysayers down and saying, listen, we as wrestlers don't put others down. We are so excited to have her go over there. We're excited that she's able to like shine and let her see her moment, and all we
Yeah.
want is the best for her.
Yeah.
Like we don't want we're not mad. Like
Yeah.
like they left on positive terms. Jade wants to be bigger, and he's like, go be big. Like there's no war here. Like,
Yeah.
and they've been saying it since they started.
Mhm.
Jericho's been saying it since they started. There's no war here.
Yeah.
We just want to be another alternative for you to watch other than just WWE.
Yeah.
We're not trying to start a fight.
Yeah,
the-
no,
There's a reason why we chose Wednesday over Monday. We just want to be another option.
sure.
But then Vince decided, hey, I'm going to put NXT on Wednesday because I'm in a war with them, and they lost.
Yeah,
Like
they got smoked.
like
Yeah. Well, okay. So as a side note, like this Jade Cargill thing, like this is very exciting because the WWE machine is fully behind her.
fully behind.
They've already
Yeah.
shown they showed videos of her arriving at the performance center. They announced her signing on ESPN. Like
yeah,
they are
made it a
fully
huge
behind
deal.
her.
Yeah.
And someday when there's been enough time that's passed and we may be doing a top 5 wrestlers who succeeded after AEW,
Yeah.
depending on what happens with Jade Cargill, if she's as good and does as well as the machine is behind her, which
Yeah.
I don't see them investing in her unless they really see something
in her,
special
yeah.
there and they're going to push her to the moon. Like she could be on that list
Yeah.
someday. But Cody Rhodes is a great pick. Cody Rhodes was actually number 6 on my list. He's still on my notes because I really almost put him on the list. I felt like there were other choices that were better, but again, as I said, other people may have done things better than him, but nobody did it bigger than him. Like starting a company, being
he didn't just
an
go.
EVP.
He didn't just leave and rebuild. Like he made his stock and made, like you said, Cody Rhodes is not just a name; it's a brand.
He
branded
Cody
it
Rhodes
onto
a
his
brand.
neck.
Yeah,
he has a branded onto his neck.
Yeah, he what he was able to do was incredible. So that's a great number 2.
Yeah. What is your number 2?
So you might actually be surprised by this, but my number 2 is Christian.
Okay.
I did not put him as my number 1.
I am a little bit surprised.
So all right. So
now he will unreserve and say his comments.
Yes, the speaker from Pennsylvania, you now have the floor. All right. So you look at his time in WWE, he went from being in the Brood to being in the Ministry of Darkness to doing all the Edge and Christian
He was in
stuff.
Ministry of Darkness?
Yeah. Edge the Brood joined the Ministry of Darkness.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
So then they went to obviously the successful tag team of ENC, Edge and Christian. They were a part of the very first TLC match. In fact, I believe they were a part of the first 3 TLC matches and they won all of them.
Yeah, they were.
He actually defeated Edge for his first Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
But then there were a lot of missteps. There was the Un-Americans.
Yeah.
There was the tantrum gimmick where he would lose a match and throw a tantrum in the ring after every match.
Yeah.
There was the mildly successful tag team with Chris Jericho, where however they had their clothes stolen and then had their towels stolen from them on national television. Like there were a lot of missteps. So again, this was a case where somebody thought, this guy's a great tag team wrestler, but I don't ever see him as a singles wrestler. I don't ever see him as a champion.
Yeah,
like
because
we got to let him go.
Yeah, they didn't let you see that side of him. He you mentioned all these different group names. He was basically second fiddle to the Brood, to the Ministry, to ENC. He was just the secondary guy.
Yeah,
pretty much the whole beginning of his career.
Yeah,
until they did give him some of the spotlight when he won the world title from Orton, but he held it for a month and then lost it again.
Yeah, like his biggest, besides winning that IC title, his biggest singles moment was turning on Jericho and making out with Trish Stratus at WrestleMania.
Yeah, which is so good.
Yeah, but so he knew that his stock was much bigger than what WWE said. So he went to TNA. I feel like the same push that they gave to Kurt Angle, they pushed Christian from the minute he got there. Like his entrance, it was such an exciting moment to see him finally show up there. And he went, he was the definition of a rocket strapper.
Yeah,
like he went straight to the moon. TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Like he had such a great run there.
I feel like the early beginnings of Impact after the initial run, when they started bringing in new guys, they knew what they had. So instead of just bringing him in, they brought him in and just pushed him to the moon. Angle,
absolutely.
Christian, RVD, Jeff Hardy. Yeah. Jeff Hardy was one of their big signings, and they pushed him to the top.
They absolutely did. They knew
that if they were going to bring in this guy, we need to give him the spotlight.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
look at what they did with Jeff Hardy. They
Yeah.
made him the worst looking title of all time and gave it to him. That's also on one of our previous episodes. Check it out. So anyways, with Christian, like TNA was such a big a jumping point for him that, I mean, he had to eventually be picked up in WWE. But you look at some of the things he did before he went back to WWE, because this man had been all over. He did 1 PW in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
He had a small stint in Ring of Honor.
Yep.
This man was on Wrestle Kingdom 2.
Yeah.
Like this is huge. So finally WWE sees the light and brings him back. He gets their version of the ECW championship,
Which is the worst.
yeah, just terrible. But that was just a precursor to him winning the world heavyweight title.
Yeah.
Not once, but twice.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at what this guy's done. He is a 9-time tag team champ.
Yep.
He is the current AEW TNT champ.
And
Like,
killing it.
He is killing it in in AEW. Just everything that he does, everything that he touches is absolute gold. And beyond that, I mean, he's had a successful WWE Network show, the ENC show that totally reeks of awesomeness.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I am on episode number 3.
Hey.
If you go to the section where
Find
they're
Ralph.
if you go to the section where they're reading mean tweets, I made a mean tweet towards Byron Saxton, and he reads it on there. You will see
Yes.
at Real Ralph 316.
Find him.
But they also had a great podcast, DNC's Pod of Awesomeness, which
it was pretty good.
the podcast was
I enjoyed
really fun.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed to see it end. However, we got Edge back, and then eventually we got Christian back.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. I
Yeah.
would love to see them return to that podcast. But again, this guy, made himself a career outside of WWE. That again, the big thing about it was I don't think anybody in WWE ever saw him as a world champion.
No.
And he went away and proved them wrong, and they had no choice but to bring him back and make him a world champion.
Even
And
though it was short lived.
he is forever intertwined with Edge, but at the same time, I think he has forged a singles path for himself
Yep.
that people simply cannot forget. And he was a very important part of TNA Impact, so much so that he was the bargaining chip to get Ric Flair into the Hall of Fame with the Four Horsemen.
Oh yeah.
So Ric Flair was under contract with TNA at the time.
Yep.
And so WWE wanted to induct the Four Horsemen, and they wanted Ric Flair. And they said, okay, you can have Ric Flair for the Four Horsemen, but we want Christian to make an appearance. I believe it was during the 10th anniversary episode. So Christian, who was a contracted WWE wrestler,
Yep.
went back to TNA and came out as Christian Cage and had a promo in the ring. And it was fantastic. So he was actually a bargaining chip so WWE could get Ric Flair. Like that's what TNA wanted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything he's done has just, led him to where he's at now, that he's still doing it at a high level. And I fully expect, and you and I had this conversation earlier off the air, but I fully expect that we are going to see in AEW at some point a double retirement match between Christian and Edge.
Yeah.
I think it is going to be the way it's got to go. You had mentioned that you think the build-up for that is going to be a tag team run for them, and I think that's absolutely brilliant as well.
Have them start, bring ENC back for a little bit, and then you choose who you want to turn who, Edge or Christian.
Yeah.
I would think Christian, because right now he already is the heel. But
Sure,
you can have Edge be the opposite, but then you have them both to kind of retire in the same night and do one last match together, and that's their swan song.
And I see a whole show being built
And that
around
would be
it.
the perfect way to end both their careers. If
you
you
would
want
have-
to go on a high, that's the way you do it.
You would have to do it up in Toronto.
Oh yeah,
It
of
would
course.
It would be a perfect ending.
Well, because that's where Edge wanted to have his last match anyway, and,
Yeah.
he had it with Sheamus on WWE, but
Yeah.
in
And
AEW
with,
you could have it
and with their
Christian.
history,
Yeah.
it's got to be done. So Christian is my number 2. So this brings us to your
Number
big number 1.
one.
And I'm excited to hear this because I have no idea who it could be.
You mentioned it earlier, so I'm surprised you didn't know. My number 1 is Matt Cardona.
Oh, very cool.
Uh,
I support that. That's a great pick.
the fact that he made his own show on YouTube called the Z True Long Iron Story.
Mhm.
Built up a stock there for them to give him the US belt, only for them to take it away from him right away.
Yeah,
That
that was a joke.
literally, like, they only did it because they're like, all right, we see the fans, we see you, here's the belt. Psych, not anymore.
Yeah.
They basically misused him so many times in the WWE. I remember the One Mania, they gave him the IC belt only to have him lose it the very next night on Raw to The Miz.
Yep.
So he gets released, leaves, and he just goes everywhere. He goes to every indie show, every promotion. He right now is like the belt collector. He has so many championships from so many different promotions.
Mhm.
And then at this point, I saw recently he did a interview where he was like, "Guys, don't bring me to your show. Don't, because I will win your belts, and I'm getting tired of holding all these belts in my bags because of how many I have. Don't sign me. Don't do it, because I will beat your champions. I will win your belts, and I will have all the belts, because right now he literally has so many belts that from so many different promotions. He built his own brand, between the Wrestling Figures podcast, the Major podcast with Brian Myers. He has that. He has the podcast. He has the new podcast that he's doing where he's recapping and kind of reviewing his old Zichu Island story episodes with his friend. And he's built his own stock. Like, he was the one that proved that that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that you can leave and make your own name. He hasn't gone back since. He's teased it, but he doesn't have to. His name is made in the indies. Like, he is like the unannounced indie god of like wrestling. Like, he is made such a huge name for himself just by going to every promotion he possibly can.
Oh yeah. So no offense to anybody on the indies, but honestly, I think Matt Cardona right now is the king of the indies. I mean,
Absolutely.
this guy is killing it. You think about some of the things that he's done, on the indies. I mean, not only did he build a brand for himself, not only did he go everywhere and do everything, he reinvented himself as well. He became a death match king. He beat Nick Gage for the
GCW title.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean,
and he got that was akin to like when Hogan turned heel, that scene where all of them are throwing just garbage.
Oh yeah.
He literally had to run out of there because he was afraid that he was gonna get like attacked.
Oh yeah.
Like the fans rioted that night after he won.
And in stark contrast, the biggest, most memorable thing he ever did in WWE was getting wheeled off the stage by Kane.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing. That's like the big moment that WWE replays all the time. Like, that's whenever he's brought, it's ridiculous.
Zack Ryder died, but Matt Cardona was born, and he's just here. He's just rocking and rolling. Talk about a guy who, again, Drew may have done it first, and Cody may have done it bigger, but Matt Cardona just made it happen. Yeah, like, he just decided, you know what? No, I will prove everybody wrong, and you can let me show you how good I really am.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We talk about, like, we were talking about Cody and how Cody turned being Cody Rhodes into a brand.
Yeah.
And he did that and I don't know if he did that in the hopes of this or whatever, but he did that in such a way that WWE had no choice to bring him back.
Yeah.
I feel like Matt Cardona is doing the exact same thing, but doing it for completely different reasons. He's doing it so that WWE does not bring him back. I mean, he pretty much said to WWE, listen, whether I come back or not, I'm still going to hold the women's tag team title.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that was a moment. Let me tell you.
That was so funny.
That was so ridiculous. And I am just shocked that Chelsea Green did not get fired for that, or they did not pull the strap from her.
I believe Chelsea announced, or Matt announced, that was just a replica. That wasn't her belt. It was a replica.
Yeah, but still, come on. I mean, yeah. Do you think that if Medusa had announced that the belt that she threw away on Nitro was a replica, that WWE would have said, "Oh no, we don't hate you. Come back right away,
back, please." Yeah,
it wouldn't have taken so many years.
Yeah, but Matt took his stock and just went.
He didn't just make being Matt Cardona a brand. He made being Matt Cardona a business.
Yeah,
like, he has turned his life into something completely different than just being a wrestler. He has become this idea of a wrestling entrepreneur.
Yeah,
it is incredible what he has been able to do. The fact that he continuously goes out there and puts his body on the line. It's unfortunate we'll never be able to see him at the ECW arena again, because he lost that death match to Bully Ray in the ECW arena. But that just tells you, when a guy like Bully Ray is willing to get in the ring with you and have a death match with you and put a stipulation on the line like that, that just tells you how much he respects Matt Cardona, what Matt Cardona's done, despite the way that they went at each other on Busted Open. And, like, you have to, I feel like death matches are a whole different animal because
Oh, of course.
you have to have a respect and a trust for your opponent that normally you don't have for an opponent, but it
Yeah.
has to be that much higher level because of what you're doing in the ring in a death match. So that says a lot for him.
Yeah, and now I didn't even notice it until recently that they also started their own little wrestling promotion out of the Wrestling Figure Podcast. It's called FWF. No, yeah, it's like the Wrestling Figure Federation,
Oh, cool.
and I think they're
Yeah.
on 5 now. But they've done FWF
Wow.
Live 1 through 5, and like so now he's
Yeah,
like
that's
almost
super
doing his
cool.
own little promotion
Mhm.
based off the podcast and based off with it. Like he really is
Sure.
a business now. Like if Matt Cardona isn't just a name, like you said, it's a
Yeah.
business model.
Yeah.
And other wrestlers should seek to get that same mindset if they don't want to,
Yeah.
if they get released and leave. Like we said earlier, his message to all the ones who got released: don't give up.
Mhm.
There is light at the end of the tunnel. You can find
There's
work.
life
Just
after
go get
WWE.
it.
Yeah, you've got to go out there and you've got to want it and you got to work for it, but it's out there.
Yeah.
It's available for you. You can make it happen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is a great number one. Really good list. Some people that I may have thought of, some people that I may not have thought of,
Yeah.
just people that I did not put on my list. But my number one is Chris Jericho.
Yep. I mean,
so
come on.
So he starts off in WCW and he becomes a phenomenal talent in WCW all on his own because nobody was supporting him. He talks about how when he was doing things like the Man of 1,004 Holds,
Which was
and he
amazing.
just read the list straight through the commercial. And he talked about like when he was doing all the stuff, like when he was going around Washington DC, and he's like, WCW management didn't even know what we were doing. Like they didn't even watch the shows. Like they had no idea. So he was making the most out of who he was on his own without the help of WCW, to the point where WWE had to have him.
Yeah.
And they didn't just have to have him. They brought him in during a Rock promo to interrupt the Rock. Who gets that treatment?
Who gets that sort of opportunity to, go toe to toe with, the great one.
Yeah. So then he goes to WWE and he has an amazing career in WWE.
Yeah.
He's had the most Intercontinental Championships of anybody at 9. He's beaten Stone Cold and The Rock in one night.
The same night.
Like people cannot make claims like that. And he did things like he got the list over.
Yeah.
Like
he got so many
clicking
silly
a
things.
pen.
He got
And
so many silly things over that no one thought would get over, but because it was him.
And it was part of his WrestleMania entrance that year. He had the big list. Like the friendship with Kevin Owens, the
Festival Friendship is still one of the best segments.
Incredible
on Raw.
That painting of him and Kevin Owens, like the stuff he did, and I mean, he has reinvented himself multiple times within WWE during that run. Just different versions of himself. He got himself over by coming out on TV week after week after week and just getting in the ring and saying nothing, walking away, and it got him over. It just the stuff that he is willing to do to get himself over. The light up jacket, that was his idea. He had the light up jacket made, and he said, you have no idea how much trouble that was getting that jacket through airport security, but he did it because it was all a part of this gimmick. So WWE, again, as we discussed during your review of Chris Jericho, it just did not value him to the point that he valued himself. So he took off. And he did something that I feel, for everything that he's done, this might be the biggest thing I think that he's done. And he's done a lot of big things. But the Painmaker gimmick in New Japan Pro Wrestling, just that reinventing of himself. The video promos that they played up until his debut, just phenomenal stuff. Like, so good, but so different. Like, you really started to see into the mind of Chris Jericho and realize what a great wrestling mind that he actually was. So he was on the inaugural All In before there was even AEW. He was disguised as Penta El Zero,
which was a shock.
Again, incredible. But look at the stuff that he's done in AEW, the Inner Circle, the Jericho Appreciation Society, all the stuff that he did with MJF, which when they sang on television together. Listen, him and MJF singing on TV together might have been my favorite segment of all time.
Good.
Le Champion.
Yeah.
He got an actual bottle of the bubbly. He
Yeah,
got that over.
yeah.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Yeah.
Like he got that over on television.
He is one of those guys that like what he thinks will get over and others won't, he'll just do it.
Yeah,
Like,
oh yeah.
like when he was in WWE and he would just say, "You have it."
Yeah.
It's the word it.
The word it.
Over.
Yep. They just
Like-
they wanted
like,
they wanted to
just-
say it as many times as they
Yeah.
could and get it over as much
Yeah.
as they could, and they got the word it
Over. Like he got so many silly things.
He got clicking a pen
Yeah.
over.
just
again,
just the
Just the click of
pause.
the pen.
The
Yep.
pause. The fans would wait for it to
Yeah.
click it. To,
Yeah.
like
And then you look at like the matches that he's had in AEW, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay. These are
Like-
matches that a guy of Chris Jericho's age should not be really having these spectacular matches with these guys. And honestly, even the Will Ospreay match, I think people were really surprised at how well Jericho hung with Will Ospreay.
yeah.
Like it was incredible. He was part of the inaugural Blood and Guts match.
Yep.
Like just the stuff that he's done in AEW.
He was the one that chose to go off the freaking cage on top. That-
we-
he did it.
We talked about it again during your review, but I think he is the most important, most impactful, best signing that they've made.
Yeah.
But then there's so much more to Chris Jericho. There's the Talk is Jericho podcast,
Yep.
which is over 1,000 episodes,
Mhm.
which is now on Sirius XM
Yeah.
on, Fight Nation channel 156.
Yep.
You talk about the books. He's a celebrated author. He has had like 3 or 4 bestsellers.
Mhm.
You talk about Fozzy, which
Yeah.
started as a joke. Fozzy was a joke band. His name was Mongoose McQueen,
Yep.
and they were supposed to be this band that got stranded in Japan for
Yeah.
like 10 years. And so when they came back, all they knew were like 80s covers hits.
Yeah.
And it was this big joke, and it turned into a real
And
band.
now they're huge. Now
yeah,
now-
they have like
now-
platinum, diamond records.
yeah, and now
like,
Judas is like the number one song because
Judas is incredible.
and it's sang week after week.
Fozzy played
Yeah,
him in during his entrance
Now
at
it's
Wembley.
so cool. Yeah.
Not only that, Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea.
Yep.
The Jericho Cruise.
Yep. Going on it a third time in January.
Seriously,
It is
what this
if,
man.
If you are a wrestling fan, it's not sponsored. But if you're a wrestling fan and you love wrestling and you love rock and roll, go on the Jericho Cruise. You will not regret it.
Yeah, seriously, everything that this guy has done, just he has, I think back to when Howard Stern used to call himself the king of all media,
Yeah.
and I feel like Chris Jericho has taken that mantle and ran with it
He's like
because he's
the king of
just
all wrestling.
he's
Like,
everywhere.
yeah,
He
he's-
does
yeah.
everything. He's just he has he's made Chris Jericho a brand. He's made Chris Jericho a business. He's
Yep.
made Chris Jericho a lifestyle. Just everything about him
Yeah.
is just incredible. Everything he touches is gold.
Yeah.
And I can't think of anybody that I would rather have at the top of my list
Than
than
Jericho.
Chris Jericho.
Absolutely. That's perfect.
Yeah. Well, this has been another great episode. This is another episode with us podcasting
In the
live
Mancast
together.
Network home office.
Yeah, from the home office here. We've had a couple episodes from the home office. We've had one from the New Jersey studio,
Which is getting a remodel very soon.
yeah. Pretty
keep
soon
look
we'll
out for
be.
that.
Pretty soon we're gonna have to christen in the New Jersey
studio,
Studio
yep.
Deluxe. We're gonna call it the New Jersey Le Studio. And we are gonna officially christen it with a little bit of the bubbly.
Nice.
I'm telling you.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
that's coming soon. Look forward to that. We've really got a lot of great things coming up. Things have really been going very well for the Opinion City podcast.
Yeah,
We-
why don't we give them some upcoming events and let them know what's going on with
Yeah.
the show? We got some big shows coming down the pipeline, some big guests.
We absolutely do. So October 22nd, which is rapidly approaching.
Yep.
I can't believe it's going to be October already, but October 22nd, we are going to be having special guest Ben Silverio. Ben is all over the internet. He does podcasting. He writes for film websites. This guy
Author.
can be
Mhm.
caught at all kinds of conventions, interviewing the biggest of stars. Ben is an old friend of mine from the Chikara days, and so Ben is going to come on, and we're going to have a great conversation with him.
The one that I'm most excited about is October 29th. It'll be a
Oh,
late
yeah.
night edition of Opinion City,
Yeah.
but we're going to have for the first time all together in one episode the Cyberhawks, Razorhawk, Dangerhawk, and Thunderhawk all in one podcast
All
for the
in
first
one
time
podcast
ever.
For those of you that have listened to the Razor Wing podcast, you know how much fun that was. So you know how much fun this
It's gonna
one's going
with
to
all
be.
three of them together. Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't listened, go back and re-listen to that episode because you want to get yourself ready for this one. And then in November, now we can't release everything that we're doing for November yet. November is going to be a really big month for
Yeah.
us, but I can tell you that on November 12th, we are going to have special guest from the Monster Factory.
Oh yeah.
We are having the man, Danny
The
Cage
coach,
himself.
the owner, the man, the myth, the legend, Danny Cage.
Danny Cage is going to join us, and we are going to talk everything Monster Factory. We are going to talk the Apple TV Plus show. We are going to talk what's going on with training there. We're going to talk
Yep.
about the Friday night shows.
Yeah. TRL, Total Wrestling Live.
Oh man, we have got so much to
There's
talk about.
much to go over.
Guys, we have got some really big shows coming up. We're very excited about them. So again, keep checking out all of our socials. We'll have all the information up on there about who you can see and when, because we've got a lot coming down the pike. The
Oh,
end
yeah.
of the year is going to be huge for us, and we are going to start off next year with a bang because we have got just a lot of amazing shows coming. So again, please keep checking the socials and we will let you know exactly what's going on. But with that being said, we want to thank everyone for listening to the Opinion City podcast with myself and Parmesan.
Mhm.
If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll follow us on social media at Opinion City Pod. And we hope that you'll tell your friends, your family, your colleagues, heck, tell a complete stranger about Opinion City. And
Just on the street.
please, yes, just grab somebody at random, tell them about Opinion City, tell them how much you like it, get them to listen, get them to check us out because they'll love it too. And again, please like, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Be sure to check out our previous episodes and let us know your opinions on our previous topics as well as this week's topic. Check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Threads, on Instagram, at Opinion City Pod. This has been a Mancast Network production, and we will, as always, see you next time.
This is Ultimo Ann here. You're listening to Opinion City Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Happy trail.